anything about Kyle. Right.
Is Baker in the MVP convo if he beats Lamar?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's in the convo now. Like, and the reason you look at the Vegas odds, those are projections.
Yeah.
And
they don't believe
nobody expects Baker. And I don't think any of us expect him necessarily to keep playing this. He's on pace for 42 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's leading the league in touchdowns. He's second in passer rating. They've beaten Detroit. Now, I don't know if they beat them now, but they beat Detroit. They beat Washington.
They've had the hardest schedule in the league.
And they're 4-2. If they beat Baltimore, not only is he in the MVP conversation, they become, I think you'd have to say, they're legit Super Bowl contenders. I would not pick them.
Okay,
I'm happy with my pick. But hold on.
They're legit Super Bowl contenders that nobody would pick.
Well,
can I say something?
I'm happy with my
Get
pick.
him wild.
I mean, really, like, I'm not just saying that to stick with my pick, Green Bay. But still, they would be 5-2 with victories over Washington,
and let me,
Baltimore, and Detroit.
Yeah, let me add to it. But let me add to it. They would also, and I tried to make this point earlier in the week. I made it a little clumsily. But I think the NFC North might be so good that no one in that division is going to get to 13 wins.
13's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think
and so I think that because there's 24 division games to be played and only one has been played. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so because
the Vikings need to go 8-4.
Yeah, so I think that
8-4.
The point that I'm making is I'm not trying to tease out everybody's schedule. Was that I think the 1 seed can come from somewhere else, and if you're the 1 seed, you're a real contender.
Yeah.
You just are because you're obviously skip around, and then the weakest team to win in round 1 plays you in your building. So you should, as the 1 seed, you should always be in the conference championship.
Sure.
game. And if you're there, then you're a contender. And here's the thing about Baker. Baker, the last 12 games, dating back to last year, has been an MVP. That is an MVP's resume for 12 games. Baker, so he's playing Lamar this week. Lamar won the MVP last year. They both, by the way, for quarterback wins, guys, were 1-1 in the playoffs last year. But here's Baker versus Lamar the last 2 years. Again, keep in mind, Lamar won MVP. Baker's numbers are not that different. Get it. I totally understand. Lamar's got him in yards, total yards, which is substantial because of the running. Total touchdowns, Baker's got him. Passer ratings close. So and Lamar this year, it's like people think he's playing at an MVP level. So he has to be. I don't think he's in the conversation with a win this week. I think he's the bus driver. I think he's leading the conversation with a win this week.
I already have him at Bruce Valley.
Where's Sam Darnold in the conversation?
Sam Darnold got
coming
hurt
off
by
a
playing
bad
so
game.
poorly against the Jets and then having a week off.
Didn't they struggle with Denver? Didn't Bake Show struggle with Denver, or did I miss that game?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a player in the league, Coach, that's played great in every single week.
I'm just saying.
Well, exactly then. If Baker had a really bad game and Sam Darnold had a bad game, then why are you using the bad game against Sam Darnold as a means to then take him out of the MVP conversation and leave Baker in the MVP conversation? That doesn't make any sense.
We're talking about.
So you
Sam
don't have
Darnold
him in the conversation?
Well, look, he's in the conversation. He's not Daniel Jones, but I'm just saying he gets beat up a lot. I don't know if Baker's going to really be able to sustain some of the
But we saw him do it last year.
I know. You just watched the game. There was, I think it was last game, a play where I thought he
tough guy
could have been really hurt.
But he played through injury.
And his toughness is a good thing, but sometimes his toughness can be a bad thing, and it's what hurt him in Cleveland. And it could be the same thing here, where he's trying to get a little bit more than he should, gets blown up, and then it's.
Well, that would, an injury would knock him out of the.
No, but I'm just saying, the style of play may take him out of this.
They have such a legit backup that they would be able to take him out and rest him.
2 things. 1, I think Baker's ceiling is very dangerous. I think that's the Bucs' ceiling. Very dangerous. We don't want to play Baker. 2, and I didn't want to bring this up earlier in the show because I thought it would derail it. After being radio silent for years, I just saw on social media today, Coach. Did you see it?
The thing where he dresses up and.
No.
Oh.
Baker got a national sponsorship.
Oh, stop it.
He's
Kiss of
doing
death.
commercials.
Kiss of
Again, it's a
death.
Bud Light commercial. There's a big Bud Light thing there. I know
Okay.
you were.
He
Coach
was
doesn't-
doing commercials.
Coach
when
doesn't like-
Restart the engine.
He was doing commercials
No fan.
when he
played well
when he played.
Okay, as someone who's actually who's actually have done commercials and stuff like that, not bragging, this idea that if you do commercials, it's a distraction, it's not. The amount of time and effort that these guys have to do their commercials is so minimal, it is taking virtually nothing away from their from their preparation, distractions, any of that. I mean, if Baker Mayfield did all those commercials, honestly, there's a good chance, those insurance commercials once upon a time, it would be like 1 day worth of work. I mean, and it's not even a long day, like 8 hours, 6 hours. I mean, seriously, it's just this idea that was a distraction. That always rubs me the wrong way. If it was giving them like fame and stuff, and they were getting lost in the fame, like I could see the argument, but that's not what happens, right? Like, so this idea that commercials is a distraction is just. And again, I'm telling you from direct experience. And again, I'm not tremendous experience, but still experience nonetheless. And it's just not. So there you go. Don't say that I'm a Baker hater, because I just completely defended him. I also have another clip that I'll show in a moment to prove that I'm not a Baker hater, as I tell you that Baker Mayfield is not the MVP. Guys, can we stop with just these stats? Like, just stop looking at stats as like the MVP isn't who has the best stats. I mean, this is just absurd. This is just a silly thing. How good are the Ravens right now if Baker Mayfield is the quarterback? Are they better or worse? The answer is they would be worse. How much better would the Buccaneers be if Lamar Jackson was the quarterback? Better or worse? The answer is better. So there you go, folks. There's your answer right there. I mean, it doesn't have to just be based on fundamental stats, because their teams can ask them to do different things at different times. And this idea that the Buccaneers have played this really difficult schedule is just absurd. Absurd. You can't just look at the record of teams and say, therefore, this schedule was harder. Because you also have to look at the flow of the schedule and how teams came into their schedule. Nick Wright does not think that the Philadelphia Eagles are a good team. He thinks that they are fundamentally a bad team and have been playing awful football. That's one team that the Bucs beat. Nick Wright also thinks that the Saints are an awful team and that they're going to be going away, that they're going to be eliminated or whatnot. That's 2 wins right there, okay? Then the Commanders, you're playing Jaden Daniels' first game ever in the NFL as a rookie. It took him a couple games and that team to get going to what we're seeing them now. They did not look like that those first 2 games. That's just a fact. That is an absolute undeniable fact. We know we believe that. We know Nick can believe that, because go ask him if he thinks if they played the Titans right now, what would Caleb Williams look the same? The answer is obviously not. Then you have the Detroit Lions, which again, that was a tough, gritty win, undeniable, but it's also undeniable that the Detroit Lions did not play good. Okay, both teams did not play good. And Baker Mayfield did not play great that week. He had a really awesome juke and had some nice plays. But let's not pretend like he absolutely balled out and put the league on notice. Like, that's not what happened. It's just not. Not to mention, that was more of a defensive win than an offensive win at that point. I don't even know did either team even break 20? I forget at this point. But it was just an ugly, weird game. No question about it. So now you have the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens probably have to be like Lamar Jackson fans have to be just kind of going in circles with this, because they face, Lamar Jackson faces Josh Allen. They're like, if Josh Allen wins this game, is he the MVP? And the Ravens are like, what are you talking about? Lamar Jackson MVP. And then Joe Burrow steps up, and they're like, Joe Burrow is going to outduel Lamar Jackson. And they're like, what the heck are you talking about? We got Lamar Jackson. And Jaden Daniels wins. Is he the MVP? And all the Lamar Jackson fans are like, no, what are you talking about? Stop, what are you talking about? And now enter the conversation, Baker Mayfield. I am not saying that Baker Mayfield is trash. I'm not saying he's awful. A lot of people like to peg me as a Baker Mayfield hater. I have a clip now that's literally almost a year old, and look, here's me defending Baker Mayfield.
How much of this is, hey man, Baker, last chance. You're playing with house money. You had a great run in college, good start to your career, no pressure here in Tampa. And he plays great.
Well,
you gonna go pay him now and make him your guy? Is that what I heard you say?
well, time out. Everybody wants a defensive interim coach with 2 years to be a head coach. I'm saying Baker is a #1 quarterback who led the Tire Fire Browns to the playoffs, and he's now doing the same in Tampa. This is legitimate.
Okay.
I don't know what J-Mac is talking about. It's clearly legitimate. No pressure. Baker had all the pressure in the world. This isn't house money. I'm not even a Baker Mayfield fan. He didn't have house money. He was playing for his entire NFL career. If he failed in Tampa, who else was going to want him? I mean, he was just either going to be a straight-up backup quarterback or he wasn't going to be in the league at all. So house money makes no sense. You have to give it to Baker. He actually did rise to the occasion, and he's looking pretty good right now.
There you go. See? Not a Baker Mayfield hater. That would be the perfect time for me to be like, yeah, he played with house money. So stop calling me a Baker Mayfield hater. You just look foolish when you say, if I say something that you don't like and you just automatically say, oh, you're just a hater or you're a bias, that's like the lowest form of argument. It really is. You can never do that in an actual formal debate. You're going to be in a court of law, and someone says something that you disagree with, and you're like, well, Your Honor, this person's just a hater. It's like, okay, sure. Good luck with that. But no, listen. If Baker Mayfield plays awesome, and the Baltimore Ravens play awesome, and Lamar and Derrick Henry, and they get a great game out of the Ravens, and the Buccaneers win this game, well then, by all means, right, then Baker Mayfield can absolutely have a theoretical argument for that. One, I do not see that happening. I do not see the Ravens losing this game, but it is possible. I mean, they could have lost to the Bengals. They could have given up a big lead and lost to the Cowboys. They obviously lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Raiders. So it's not like the Ravens are this absolute, undeniable, no one can beat them juggernaut of a team. Like, that's the thing that people love to lose sight of. Like, all of a sudden, for the longest time, Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans love to say that the Eagles are this awful team, that the Saints are this awful team, and then they beat both those teams, and they're like, well, those were good teams. The Saints were the best team. And it's like, right, and then they're trying to act like beating Spencer Rattler, a 5th-round backup rookie quarterback is somehow impressive. Like, it's just, I don't even know how to make sense of it, honestly, at this point. The comments for these people who really want to try to argue that Baker is the #1 quarterback right now, it's just absurd. It really, really is. And I have to imagine that Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens fans have to just be like, what are we talking about right now? Like, what are we talking about? And again, look at the film. Just look at highlights, actually. You don't even have to look at the film. You don't have to even go through the all 22, because I never pretend like I'm a film expert. Just do the basic highlights. Go through what Lamar Jackson is doing and go through what Baker Mayfield's doing. Just go to NFL's YouTube page and just go watch those highlights and compare. And compare what each team is asking them to do. And it's night and day. You couldn't look at both these quarterbacks and say, oh yeah, Baker's the MVP over Lamar Jackson. It's just not true. It's just not. And Nick's essentially implying, I think, that he thinks that the Buccaneers are going to be the 1 seed, because I guess the NFC North, with all their strong teams, are going to beat one another up and kind of hurt their record, and therefore the Bucs will be able to get there. I personally do not see that happening. But the other question that I'll ask then is, if the Baltimore Ravens win this game very convincingly and win this game really, really good, does that mean that Baker Mayfield's not the MVP then? Right? Like, because if Baker Mayfield winning this game puts him in the conversation or at the top, right? It's like he is the lead MVP then what does a loss mean? Does it mean that he's just out of it? He's done? See ya, bye? Right? Like, that's always that asymmetrical thing, because I don't believe a win or loss automatically makes you the MVP or not, or, the front runner, or makes you like Lamar Jackson could lose this game and still be the MVP. Lamar Jackson doesn't have to go undefeated or beat every MVP candidate quarterback as proof that he is indeed the quarterback. But I think it's the same thing for Joe Burrow, for Josh Allen, for Jaden Daniels, whoever it may be. So this whole idea that if you beat the quarterback, that automatically means that you're ahead. And again, under that logic, then Lamar Jackson is not the MVP because he lost to Mahomes. So therefore, he's not the MVP. Because someone said that a big Lamar Jackson fan came out in the comments and was like, well, yeah, you know, this was before the Jane Daniels, you know, Washington Commanders game. And he said, well, if Lamar beats him, that's proof that he's not the MVP. In order for you to be the MVP, you gotta, you know, you gotta take out the king. And he was referring to Lamar Jackson. And it was like, all right, well then Patrick Mahomes beat Lamar Jackson. Therefore, Lamar Jackson can't be the MVP then under that logic. So again, you got to be careful with how we want to set up this logic. Bo Nix beat Baker Mayfield. Bo Nix is now the MVP over Baker. Bo Nix is just a rookie on a pretty average Denver Broncos team right now. They're fighting, they're feisty, but no one thinks that they're this great top, you know, contender in the NFL. So we got to be consistent with our logic here, and it just seems like we always want to pick and choose whenever this logic fits our argument, and if we don't, it just means you're a hater. It means you're biased, and it's just like, guys, come on. We can come up with better counter arguments to that, but you're not going to tell me that Baker is in contention to be in the MVP over Lamar Jackson, over Josh Allen, over Jaden Daniels, over CJ Stroud. Just not happening. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson? Does it put him with a win over Lamar and the Ravens? Does it put him in the conversation or at the top, as Nick is saying, and Brew for that matter, for the MVP with a win? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.